the Monday night Talking Ball episode. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Jerry Hamilton. This episode brought to you by our friend, Dr. Brett Robin, the former Longhorn running back, sponsoring each and every Monday night. Jerry, Steve Sarkisian was at the podium this afternoon talking to Longhorn media. There were also a number of different aspects that came to pass today. We learned that Julian Sayin is now named the quarterback, of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Ryan Day, the Ohio State coach, mentioning that, but also an update from Sark on injuries. And I'm going to start with that because you have a little bit of news about Trevor Gooseby, the Longhorn starting left tackle, who many think is one of the key pieces to this season. Sark said he's out for at least a couple days, but hopes he's back in time for Ohio State. What is the latest you have on Trevor Gooseby?
Yeah, so I think it falls in line there because it was kind of reported it was a hand injury, right? I think it's more fingers got caught in a jersey type of injury. So obviously the goal is to have him back for the beginning of next week in Ohio State week. And I'm not saying it can't be earlier than that, but it was enough that kept him out of scrimmage and is going to limit him some this week. But I think you'll just see some heavy wrap on his fingers, hands moving forward. Got caught in a jersey in pass pro.
Our CJ Vogel also reporting on some offensive line moves during today's practice as well from behind the scenes. CJ hearing that Nato Umozulu also worked at left tackle today. Nato was scheduled to start at left guard this year, but given Gooseby's absence, they moved Nato to left tackle today. That means Jaden Chapman would have been running some second team at left tackle. They moved Cole Hudson, who was at center, over to left guard. They made Connor Robertson the starting center, and then the right side was still the same with DJ Campbell and Brandon Baker. So some movement today based on the knowledge of Trevor Gooseby's absence. Jerry, what do you make of those moves on the offensive front?
Yeah, so I don't make a lot of it. I think I think that's a move to get, Neto some work out there in case of emergency is what that is. But I don't make a lot of it right now. I think, but I will say this: Cole Hudson, while he's the starting center, is the Swiss Army knife of this offensive line. And it also tells you that Connor Robertson's had and I said this in the summer. I think the center depth at Texas is as good as any position at Texas because Cole Hudson, Connor Robertson, and Daniel Cruz, who Texas likes a lot and still developing. And then you have a guy in Devin Coleman, a freshman that is going to rep at guard and some center. Connor Stroh took some reps at center when DJ Campbell was out. So I think it's kind of tells you that Cole Hudson in a pinch is the Swiss Army knife of this offensive line. They feel like he can play center, guard, either guard. And so if there's some forced moves in games and such, it'll be interesting thing will be, will they move him out of center in a game? If there needs to be somebody come into a game, would they make that same move in a game at Ohio State? If Trevor Gooseby went down against Ohio State, they're just going to kick Neto out to left tackle and move Hudson from center to left guard, and then Connor Robertson rolls off the bench and plays center. That's the question I have. So
he did it 2 years ago. He did it 2 years ago in the Red River rivalry. And I would add this. I do agree with you that they are developing depth, Jerry. That's what the purpose of that move was today in practice, in my opinion, is if there is an emergency situation, they at least have Nato cross-trained a little out there. He worked there 2 years ago at left tackle as a true freshman, by the way. So it's not completely new to him. Obviously, Kelvin Banks wasn't giving up that position. And then they had Trevor Gooseby come along behind him. And so they started trying Nato in at guard. I feel like it's a fair question, though, beyond just developing depth. Is Connor Robertson the sixth best offensive lineman of this group? Because I think that actually may be the truth. Robertson, older player, has experience actually playing in a big game. Is Connor Robertson the sixth best lineman, on this team right now and not Nick Brooks and not Nate Kibble? Is that possible?
I think that's where it's headed right now. But again, I also think that Nick Brooks pushing Brandon Baker. I think Texas liked having Kojo to push Baker, even though Baker's a starter. I think there's something with that, and that goes into Nick Brooks' development as well. I originally the plan was to have him at one position, cross train him a little bit, and I just don't think they want to keep moving him all around all over the time. I think they want him to develop, and somebody needs to push Brandon Baker. Obviously, Brandon Baker's a starter, but I think it's obvious Kyle Flood likes to have somebody there pushing him that Baker knows is pushing him.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this means and how long it ends or goes on. If it's just a one-day thing, or is this something that they're going to really rep quite a bit, given Gooseby is out. All right, before we get to the next thing, and our next thing is going to be about Julian Sayin, the former Alabama transfer to Ohio State. He was named the quarterback for Ohio State. Before we get to that and some interesting stuff we're going to talk about, we want to say thank you to our sponsor. That is Dr. Brett Robin over at Austin Orthopedic Institute for sponsoring On Texas Football. Dr. Robin, a former Longhorn running back, knows what it takes to stay in the game, and he's here for athletes of all ages, specializes in musculoskeletal health. Dr. Robin treats joint pain and injuries with a conservative approach. He also offers advanced surgical options if need be, including arthroscopic procedures, fracture management, and even total joint replacements. With convenient offices in Austin, Georgetown, and Killeen, Dr. Robin is accepting new patients now. If you're looking for a top-notch orthopedic specialist, give Dr. Robin a call, 512-856-1000. That's 512-856-1000. Austin Orthopedic Institute, Dr. Brett Robin. All right, Jerry, you wanted to key this up because sometimes when we're talking about players, that Texas is going to have to either compete against or even on the current roster, you want to look back at their high school film. Okay, well, Ryan Day announced Julian Sayin as the starter at Ohio State today. Let's look at a little high school film of the right-hander from Carlsbad, California.
Yeah, and Sark talked about him today in the press conference, said he was at camp twice, so I thought it'd be nice. Texas was recruiting him. Then obviously when Arch Manning committed to Texas, that was done. But watch Julian Sayin in high school. I think he's a guy that's got good feet in the pocket. I think he's got good feel in the pocket. I think he's a functional athlete at the position, a really accurate guy. One of the things watching him is he doesn't have to have his feet set necessarily to make accurate throws. And I think that's going to be important for him as long as he keeps his eyes up against the Texas pressure. I mean, I wanted to play this tape because, I think sometimes when guys don't play, they redshirt. And I know he's 5 of 12 last year. It's sometimes you forget a guy's skill set. Well, Julian Sayin was a 5-star quarterback that was a guy that everybody wanted, a guy that Steve Sarkisian offered in the process. And Sark had really good things to say about him today in terms of having really good feel, accurate passer, makes all the throws. Because if Sark offers a guy, he has the ability to make all the throws. But like that throw right there, where he kind of reset and went back to the other side of the field. Those are what really impressed the college coaches about Julian Sayin. And I think, look, he is. If Ohio State can give him enough time,
that was good.
If they can give him enough time, he is going to put the ball in the area code of some really talented receivers at Ohio State. And look, the off-platform throws, I think he's a really talented player. So I think it's going to be imperative that Texas gets pressure on him in his first start and makes those eyes drift. I think making his eyes drift is the key with a young quarterback, because if he keeps his eyes up through pressure and plays around pressure, he's going to deliver the football to future NFL draft picks all over the field.
I think he's a really good football player. I think that he has a quick release, Jerry.
Yeah.
And keeps it ready to go. And so we'll see. I just actually was on a Ohio State podcast prior to coming and doing this with you for Talkin' Ball. They were talking about Sayin and the ability to get the ball to the receivers and ultimately that was part of the reason why Sayin was the choice at Ohio State. It wasn't necessarily, anything other than the fact that he just gets it to those guys better than anybody else on the roster right now. And that makes sense. It makes sense. I'd want to get it to Jeremiah Smith myself.
Yeah.
Right.
And what you watch here is again, his first start, if Texas applies the pressure they can, is he going to be able to make the plays in the pocket with his feet, keep his eyes up, and still deliver the ball accurately? If he does that, he has a chance to have a really good game because he's got NFL players all around. No different than Arch, right? I mean, if you handle the pressure, you keep your eyes up, you put yourself in position to make throws, contested throws against great competition, talent neutralized situations, you're going to make a lot of plays. And again, I think this is why he was the Ohio State pick. And I wouldn't be shocked if Kleinholtz didn't have like some run game stuff against Texas, just as a little change of pace. But Sayin is the guy that can get the ball to all the future NFL draft picks.
Could be the red zone guy for them at some level. Kleinholtz, the Lincoln Kleinholtz, the other guy. All right, as we do every Monday night, we actually take questions from the audience. As super chats go to the front of the line. So if you want any questions answered, please put them in. We'll get to them as soon as possible. We'll answer as many questions as we can here before we get to the top of the hour. Let's start with Buddy Pal, Chief Big Guy. This or that? Would you rather have Arch with a 5-to-1 TD to interception ratio, or the defense force 30 turnovers next year? I guess this year.
He has some big. Buddy Pal's got some really good questions. Because last night was a tough one too, right? If you told me it would be 36-6, I would take that all day.
So that's 6-to-1 though.
Sorry, 30
to 5-to-1.
35-7. I would take that all day as first-year starting quarterback. I'd take that all. 30 turnovers is a lot. I know it was 31 last year. It's 31 last year in 16 games. But Buddy Pal, is this regular season or a 16-game season? Like, if I would take 30, I'd take 35-7 from Arch in 12 or 13 games and run to the house right now.
You did that. It was Quinn like 3.5-to-1.
Yeah.
I mean, just to give you and he never, I think we said his goal was 4-to-1 on an annual basis. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to take 5-to-1 TD to interception ratio. Although I will say you could have, I think you have a higher ceiling if you have a 5-to-1 TD to interception ratio, but a lower floor or a higher floor if you have 30 turnovers.
Last year, Quinn and Arch combined for 40 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. Okay, so that's not even a 3-to-1.
Well, Arch threw 1 though.
He threw 2.
2.
So it's 9-2, and Quinn had 31-12. So you're 40-14. Again, as much as Arch is going to throw the ball down the field, I would take 35-7 right now and go to the house.
Okay. I think that if he has a 5-to-1 TD and interception ratio, this team has a higher ceiling.
Yes.
But if you get 30 turnovers, you're not losing more than 3 games this year. I mean, that would be, unless you just imploded yourself. I would take the 5-to-1. I want a championship, so I'm going to go 5-to-1 on that one. That's my take. All right, here we go. Jerry C. Do we have a 8 trustworthy offensive line? Think they feel really good about 6? Do they feel? We just talked about that early. Do they feel good about 7 and 8? And who are 7 and 8 in your opinion, Jerry?
Yeah, well, let's see if they're sandbagging a little bit on some of the stuff inside the building. Yeah, I do. Look, I think Nick Brooks is one of those guys, and I think he'll play well when he gets his opportunity. I do. I think now, are they going to play that many guys? I don't know. And that's always the hard thing with, like, when people are like, why is why didn't Texas just have 6 deep at future draft picks at offensive tackle? Because the difference between offensive tackles in the portal versus defensive tackles in the portal, those guys all play snaps and play in a rotation. How many guys aren't, if you play offensive line, you're not jumping into the portal to go be a second teamer and be the 8th offensive lineman at a school. That's just not what these guys are after. So it's extremely hard to build the type of depth that I think people want. But I think I think they're sandbagging a little bit on the OL. I'll be honest.
You think so? You think they're sandbagging, really?
A little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
A little bit. And I'm not saying Texas is going to go out and road grade Ohio State. That's not what I'm saying. But I do think I think Texas has they have a bunch of guys who have been in the program for a long time.
I want to get another Jerry C question answered real quick because he's on the O-line tangent in this chat right now. What are NATO's measurements? NATO came in out of high school at what, 6'4"-ish, 280, 285, something like that.
Yeah.
He lists on the roster, I believe, right now at 6'4", 325. So he's gained roughly 40 pounds of muscle mass in the last 3 or 4 years.
81, 82-inch wingspan, 10-plus inch hands. I mean, he's got all the combine numbers.
Okay. Need to go next here to Juan Garza. Thank you, Juan, for the super chat.
Yeah.
Gary, what was the real story behind Steve Spurrier wanting the Texas job before the Washington, then the Redskins, or even after Washington? Do you know this? Because okay, go for it.
Well, there's 2 things. And now I think Spurrier wanted the job. And I don't think he would have been hired. Would it have been when Makovic was hired at Texas? Was he at Duke?
Could be.
I think that's the real one. The other one was that Bob Stoops wanted the job when Mac Brown was hired, and the lore was somebody told Stoops, "You don't have enough skins on the wall."
Yeah, well, Texas is big about that. They want guys who have been head coaches before because the job can be too big for people. I mean, I think that's a fair. I mean, look, we're going to find out this year if the job was too big for Brent Venables at OU, right? Similar type of hire, had a national championship ring. Brent Venables did as an assistant coach, just like Bob Stoops did. So we'll see. Matthew, what is hurting on Murad Watson? Not hearing any news is getting a little uncomfortable. So I actually have a little bit of news. My understanding was that Watson was actually suited out, but was sidelined today. Now, how sidelined? Was he going through all drills, etc.? I don't know. But Emmett Mosley also is in workout gear, but not necessarily getting on the field right now. So that would tell me that it's something that is either lingering or something that they need to get going. Interestingly, Sark talked a little bit about defensive tackle today. He made a correction to something that he said on Saturday. He said on Saturday that Alex January had blocked a kick. It was actually Hero Canoe that blocked the kick. And then he talked a little bit about Alex January overall and said how he feels like he's going to get some playing time. Murad Watson, as well as Travis Shaw. He wants to see some more consistency out of Shaw, as well as Cole Brevard, young man out of Purdue. Those are a couple things that we need to be aware of. If you missed it and you're just now joining us, I want to reiterate, Jerry, you answered a question about Trevor Goosby's health already. If you don't mind, do me a favor and reiterate that to folks here.
Yeah. So best of what I've heard is it was more fingers than hand in a pass pro. Just kind of got his fingers caught in a jersey in the scrimmage in a pass pro situation. I think we'll see him with fingers and hand taped for a while from here on out as a lineman, I think. But severity of it, haven't heard anything different than what Sark said today.
Okay. This one from Roger, Jerry, and Bobby. What do you think Texas' plans are to leverage Arch's mobility to alleviate pressure on the OL, especially in pass protection? Jerry's talked about moving the pocket quite a bit. I think that's a piece of it. I actually think that they might have 2 or 3 planned runs a game for him, or zone read keeps like he did against UTSA, frankly. But I feel like most of that will come naturally. I just feel like he moves better in the pocket, and he's going to have some of those instances present themselves to him. Some of those opportunities to present themselves. Do you have anything that you want to add to that, Jerry?
So playing under center a lot more is going to take. What's interesting about what they're doing, and Bobby, this falls in line with why I think the offensive line is going to be so much better in terms of execution consistently this second half. We're starting at Florida after they get through about 4 games plus an off week, is because that's a big difference playing under center for these guys when their quarterback's under center. There's a lot more timing from a handoffs perspective, and just more timing in the passing game. And I do think, as much as Arch is working under center, that changes the calculation a little bit for me. I think you're going to see a lot of, I think Arch, like any of the Mannings, is really good with the ball in hand. Okay, so the play action game, the faking, the sticking the ball in the running back's stomach. I think you're going to see Sark use a lot of things like that to manipulate edges and linebackers. I think he's going after the manipulation of edges and linebackers. And if he can accomplish that with Arch Manning this season, then I think it's going to really be a positive for the run game for Texas.
All right. I want to go here before I go to Kenneth Cassidy. Your question is up next about Jonah Williams, the true freshman. I want to make sure people know about where Jerry and I are going to be the next couple of nights. We have a tour of sorts. It's actually just a Longhorn party. That's really what it is. An excuse to party is called football. Jerry and myself going to be in Austin tomorrow night at at Schultz's Beer Garden. That'll get started around 5 o'clock and end around 8. Come out, have a cold one with us. The guys from Third and Longhorn will be there. Derek Johnson, Rod Babersby alongside us, as well as a couple other folks, CJ, Jeff, etc. Come on out and join us. Then we'll be in Houston the next night over at Social Beer Garden in Midtown. And then myself and CJ and Coach Shipley, as well as Rod, will be up in Dallas at Happiest Hour on Thursday. And Jerry, meanwhile, will be at the Fort Worth, Texas Exes on Thursday night. But come out and join some fellow Longhorns, hang out with us, drink a few cold ones, listen to some Longhorn talk, and meet us if you don't mind. But that's coming up this week, beginning tomorrow. All right, let's go to the next thing we have here. I want to say, one more thing about that tour, and I got to mention this. Special hat tip to Vaughn Lane.
Yes.
They are our travel sponsor for the tour. It's very kind of them what they're doing for us, not only us, but also the guys at Third and Longhorn as well. So thank you so much. All right, Kenneth Cassidy. Guys, it is looking like Jonah Williams will redshirt this year. Kenneth, I'm smelling a little bit of what you're cooking. I'll just put it that way. Jerry?
A little early for me on that, but I will say, not having spring practice and now not playing in either scrimmage, that's what. And Xavier Filsaime made a move. Jordan Johnson-Rebell, Sark mentioned both those guys today having really good camps. So Jonah hasn't closed the gap on guys in front of him at all, and he's actually lost ground. And he still doesn't have reps on the field at safety in a Texas uniform. So meaningful reps, full contact reps. So the question is, does he have a chance the second half of the season? That's kind of the question, because he's missed a lot of time now. I mean, he's missed a lot of time. I don't care how many meetings you sit in on, how many drills you go through. You can't replace scrimmage reps, game reps. And so he's really behind the 8 ball. I don't know about redshirting yet because I don't think he's seen as a guy who's going to be at UT 5 years.
Right.
That's just giving away a year for a kid like that. Whether it's football or baseball, this dude's not going to be in Austin 5 years. So what's the point?
Justin Yarbo here with Super Chat. Thank you, Justin. I hope everything's going well down your way. If Jamal Charles played today, would he still line up in the backfield, or would his best value be at receiver? In today's football, I think he would be an elite receiver and have a longer career.
Running back for me all the way. I think he's special. I think he's better in this. I think he'd be a better college running back today than he was when he played.
Can you imagine him with Steve Sarkisian? Holy cow. I mean, the way he I still remember the wheel route against Iowa.
Yeah.
Iowa had a great defense that year. I would say this, and I don't know if you know the story. Jamal Charles, first of all, was a terrific player out of Port Arthur and played for a good team. But, the guy that recruited him was Mike Haywood, he ended up being a head coach at Miami of Ohio, and then had the Pittsburgh job for a day or two before had some things go south. But long story short, Mike Haywood recruited Jamal Charles, and Haywood was the running back coach. But Texas secretly at the time loved Jamal Charles as a cornerback. And to this day, there's the possibility that Dwayne Akina still thinks that Jamal Charles might be the one that got away from him as a cornerback. So, because he had ball skills, he could turn and run. He was physical. Imagine Jamal Charles as a corner. That would be interesting, right?
Kenny Harrison. Go ahead.
Yeah, before you go, I want to say one more thing. I will say this. Jamal Charles and moving him somewhere else, he's still is one of the top 5 of all time in average rush per game or average rushing
yards per carry. Yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So even contemplating doing that, I think short-sighted maybe, but what do you think?
So lifetime Longhorn Kenny Harrison, who's now the head coach at Summer Creek, was the OC. Well, it may have been his head coach's final year. I can't remember the timeline. Yeah, there you go, Marcus Myers. But Kenny Harrison pretty much told the Texas staff, whoa, guys. This guy's a great running back. Not good, great running back. I saw him play maybe 2 or 3 times his senior year. One of them at Stallworth and Baytown against Lee. And Lee literally had no chance. Literally no chance. He was 300 plus in that game from what I remember, maybe high 280s. But I think it was over 300 all-purpose yards in that game. They literally had no chance. What I think would have made Charles even better in today's game was he was really slippery between the tackles. And now the game's played in space so much, I think he would have been double dangerous because you could run outside zone. And when that guy sees the cutback lane, strike up the band in college football. It's over. It's over if you could spread the field with him. He would have been unbelievable in Sark's offense at running. He'd have been 2,000 yards easy in Sark's offense, in my opinion, rushing.
You realize that Texas had him and Ramonce Taylor and Selvin Young all at the same time? I mean, those are I'm not Texas didn't have a big back in that class or in that championship year, right? Henry Melton was their big back.
Yeah.
So, Marcus Myers is going to remind me of Chris Ogmanaya now.
Bobby, how many guys have you seen? How many guys did you see in the Stoops era that made that defense look slow? He made them look slow.
Yeah. But he made everybody look slow.
Yeah.
He's just
he did. But Oklahoma, to make those guys, he made them look slow.
Yeah, I agree.
That's very hard to do.
All right. A good question and good thought process there, Justin, because I specifically remember Dwayne Akina telling me that, man, Jamal Charles is the one that got away from me. Imagine him as a corner. Jeez.
Yeah.
Hookem Hayden, serious question. Do you think Ohio State can run the ball up the middle on us? Feels like they might try to go that route to mitigate our edge pass rushers. Hookem Hayden, I was actually just on a podcast for, I think it was called Buckeye Scoop. Good guy. He says he visits us sometimes in the morning, Jerry, on Coffee and Football, one of the guys there. And he said that they feel pretty good about their offensive line. They returned 4 of the 5 starters in the national championship game, including the center who had filled in for the Remington Award winner last year in the last couple of games. They feel pretty good about their offensive line. They do feel like they might be able to run the ball. They've got an interesting running tandem. James Peoples out of San Antonio native, is one of the guys. And then also C.J. Donaldson. People will remember him from West Virginia.
He's a factor in this game.
He's a factor because he's a body mover. He's a forward lean, 3rd and 2, hand it to him. You know, I do think that they think they can run the ball a little bit on Texas. Texas will have to prove to them that their defensive linemen they got in the portal in particular are up to snuff. I think that's going to be very real.
Ohio State offensively in game 1 is like, I don't know if anybody really, including the people that cover Ohio State, really have the answers, because you have Hartline's first game as the OC. What is that really going to mean? Sayin's first start as a college quarterback. You look, their 3rd-team running back's Bo Jackson, by the way, which I'll always say on the show. First-time starter running back. They have 4 returning offensive linemen, but there's a reason those guys didn't start last year to begin the season. I'm not saying they're not good players. I think the guy playing left tackle has always been a guard. Silverand. I'm really interested. And they lost to one of their key guys at tight end. Obviously, Max Clare's a talent. How's he going to be as a blocker? Because they had a guy who was a role player that was a really good blocker for them last year. I cannot remember his name. Then they lost G. Scott to graduation too, who was kind of a better version of Juan Davis for them, a lot better version of Juan Davis. They lost so many pieces, but new OC, what is his actual role versus what Ryan Day is going to do in that game when it really gets down to it? Not what's being reported, but when it really gets down to it, what is it all going to look like for them? I'm really interested to see what this offense is going to look like game 1 for Ohio State. And I'm not saying they're not going to have success, but they have a lot of questions that have to be answered in that game. Now, a lot more than most teams in game 1 from an offensive perspective.
We got time for a couple more questions here. This one from Samir Paul. As a diehard Longhorn fan, I always think 10-2. In the past, when they were bad, did you think they'd go 8-4, 7-5 preseason? First-year QBs make me nervous. So, Samir, here's something for you to know. Jerry Hamilton and I worked together and started the site Horns 24/7 back in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think it was 2013 or 14, and I predicted Texas. I can't remember what it was, but Texas clearly was just not that good. And I think I predicted 7-5. It may have been 2015 or 20. I can't even remember now, guys. And I got crucified for it. And then the next year, I think I picked 7-5 again. This is the Charlie Strong years. That's when it was. And I picked 7-5 again, and I got crucified for it. We're going to be better. And then they go out and beat Notre Dame to start the season, and I really get crucified about it. It's the long game sometimes. You have to play the long game. I do, Samir, I will say this, as an adult in my 20s and 30s, and Marcus Myers was part of this, by the way, who's on this chat tonight. You did expect Texas to win 10 games a year with Mac Brown. That became the thing. What did they do, that 10 straight years or something, Jerry? I can't even remember.
Yeah.
And so I understand that, but it's going to be hard. I mean, I think 10-2 is what I predicted, but there's no gimmies. I still believe this season is 5 games.
I was going to have Matt bring up the schedule so we can talk about this more in depth. I agree.
There's 5 games that are going to be tough, and 4 of them are not at home. Ohio State on the road, Florida on the road. OU is a neutral site, obviously, but look, anything can happen in that game. Georgia is on the road, and then A&M. Those 5 games, all the other games, Texas will likely be 10-point favorites or more.
Yeah. Look, so with Texas talent level, Ohio State toss-up game, the next 3 obvious. At Florida, a lot of this Florida stuff is going to depend on where's DJ Lagway and the health of Florida at that point in time, because they have more. I just got to see Lagway, like, they play Miami and LSU before Texas. Where's his health going to be at? Because it's just still an odd situation. They have some offensive injuries that they're coming back from. Oklahoma. But then you look at this. Kentucky's not the same Kentucky. If you lose at Kentucky, something's gone very wrong. Mississippi State, yes, they'll probably be a little improved. If you lose at Mississippi State, and I'm not saying these guys can't play you tight. Kentucky played Georgia tight last year, but I don't think Kentucky's as talented this year as they were last year. I'm not saying they can't play you tight, but if you lose those games, something really went really wrong. And I'm a huge Diego Pavia fan, even more after watching the SEC Netflix show. But again, that's a home game Texas should win. Something goes wrong if you lose that. I'll say the same thing about Arkansas. Something went wrong if you lost. Maybe you have a slew of injuries. Maybe Arch has a terrible game. Maybe the ball doesn't just bounce your way 4 times. But that's not a game you should lose. To your point, Bobby, there's 5 games. So when people are like, I'm worried about a first-year quarterback going 7-5, things would have to go really wrong on this schedule for Texas to go 7-5. Like, it would be a way underachieving 7-5 with this schedule. Way underachieving. There's 5 games. You got to win 3 of those 5 if you handle your business around where you should handle your business. If you win 3 of those 5, you're in the playoff at 10-2. If you go 2-3 in those games, you're 9-3. Then it's going to get left up to getting lucky to get in the playoffs. But they should not lose with the talent level, even at Kentucky, at Mississippi State, or Vanderbilt. That 3-game stretch right there, something's gone wrong if they lose one of those games with this team.
They theoretically should be getting healthy after OU into Georgia. That's a month.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that those teams aren't good teams. Like Vanderbilt in particular should be, a much better team this year, even given that they have so much positive momentum around their quarterback. I think Mississippi State will be better this year. Kentucky, I'm not sure what their outcome will be, but I agree with Jerry. I think it's a 5-game season in so many ways. Doesn't mean that they can't slip up here or there, but typically I think it's going to be a 5-game season. Good question overall, Samir, because the whole going 10-2 gets taken. If you can be too what's the right word, Jerry? Too confident at times.
Yeah.
Don't count your chickens. All right, now, Jerry, you're going to have to decipher this.
Okay.
Because it's your name. Hypothetical. Opposing QBs get 3 don't sackle me's a game. Name 1 player from each level of the defense a QB can use their please don't let him hit me card on. QB Sayin is on the clock. What does that mean? I'm trying to Bobby Petronic's asking. I'm trying to decipher that. Does it mean like Colin Simmons, Brad Spence, and Anthony Hill?
Yeah. Well, no, it's a full speed offensive tackle whiffed hit from Colin Simmons. It's Anthony Hill unblocked on a blindside blitz. And it's Derek Williams, head's not on a swivel. Okay, the hit that Makuba handed out to Gunnar Stockton. If Julian Sayin takes one of those full speed from Derek Williams, his night's probably over. I think that's where Bobby Petronic's going with that. If he gets the blind, if he gets one of those hits from Makuba from Derek Williams, his night, or Jelani McDonald, his night might be over. And by the way, the same can be said about Arch. It happened last year. If Arch takes one of those against Caleb Downs.
But Zane Petty, Bobby, you picked Texas to lose to Ohio State. What's your score? And I haven't predicted a score yet. I don't. It's just my why is gut feeling as much as it is anything else. Look, this is a pick'em game. Texas would be favored by a half a point if the game were on a neutral field. Ohio State is the favorite in this game by 2.5 points. Sometimes you just have gut feels. I think that Ohio State may have some momentum from that game last year. A lot of those offensive linemen played in that game. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I do think, I'm interested to see if Sayin actually can. Is their offensive line going to be better than Texas's offensive line? If it is, I would give a bigger lean to Ohio State than I have currently. Right now, I think the two offensive lines are going to be very similar. I think that both teams are extraordinarily similar. Jeremiah Smith may be the difference maker, frankly. I mean, it's going to be hard to cover him. I know Texas did a great job last year, but 2 years in a row would be tough. D Herring 5. How does Arch stat line look like compared to Mac Jones' final years? Woo!
That's not happening this year. I mean, no chance. I'm going to go back and look at Mac Jones' stats from his 1 year starting at Bama. That's not happening. Not year one for Arch. That would be sorry. Mac Jones completed 77.4%. 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 4,500 yards.
So a 10-to-1 TD to interception ratio.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
That is some numbers right there, dude.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Holy cow.
I mean, he had 3 number 1 picks at wide out. And Texas has good wide receivers, but they don't have that. I mean, that team was unbelievably loaded at wide receiver, running back. I mean, look, Mac Jones against Ohio State.
Was that 1999 or was that 2019 or 2020?
2020. I mean, just think about this. I mean, he was 33 of 43 against Florida in a semifinal game or in SEC championship game. 33 of 43 for 418, 5 touchdowns, interception. Against Notre Dame in the national semifinal, 25 of 30, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. National championship against Ohio State, and they creamed Ohio State. 36 of 45, 464, and 5 touchdowns. So in his final 3 games of the year, the biggest 3 games of the year, he completed 80% with 14 touchdowns and 1 interception.
Just want to say, you know who?
I mean, only Joe Burrow can talk like that over a 3-game stretch when it mattered.
Who was the offensive coordinator for that final year of Mac Jones?
I get it.
Who was it?
I get it. Let me know when Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, and Henry Ruggs show up.
All right, good stuff. Denton County Mountain Lion. Good evening, boys. Good evening to you, man. Discussing with the wife, are we likely to play at Ole Miss or at Tennessee next year? Better experience, roar. I love the sign off there with a little hook.
My prediction has been, and I'm going to be interested to see what the SEC does with this schedule, what they do with this schedule for the podcasters. I'm air quoting this. LSU, with the likelihood it'll be Arch's final year. Ole Miss, Tennessee, and LSU will come on the schedule. 2 of those are going to be at road, and 1 of those is going to be at home. I'll be shocked if Texas doesn't play at Ole Miss in 2 years. I'll be shocked if the SEC, the air quotes again, the schedule makers don't put Arch at the home of Archie and Eli, his final year at Texas.
And Peyton. And I think why not Texas? Why wouldn't Texas want to play both of them on the road next year?
Well, I just wonder if they'll send Texas bring Tennessee to Austin, send Texas to LSU since Arch is from New Orleans. Is it Ole Miss and at LSU? We'll see.
That would be interesting because Ole Miss, Tennessee, and LSU would come on the schedule. You know you're going to keep Arkansas, A&M, and OU. So that'd be 6. So you're really looking for 2 more opponents.
Hey, Buddy Powell has the answer. They owe us a road trip to Baton Rouge. That is true. That is true. Yeah. I think it'll be at Ole Miss, at LSU, Tennessee at home.
They lost that one to COVID, in the COVID year. All right, that's going to do it for tonight's episode. Again, sponsored by our friend Dr. Brett Robin, the former Longhorn running back. He knows what it takes to stay in the game. He's there for athletes of all ages. He treats musculoskeletal health, joint pain, injuries, and he does it all with a conservative approach first. He also offers advanced surgical options, arthroscopic procedures, fracture management, and total joint replacements. Offices across Central Texas, Austin, Georgetown, and Killeen. Dr. Robin accepting new patients now. If you're looking for a top-notch orthopedic, give Dr. Robin a call, 512-856-1000. That's 512-856-1000. Jerry, let's sum it up here for a little people, for folks that just joined. Trevor Gooseby, we believe, is a hand injury. Actually, a finger injury. Yeah. We're waiting to hear more on Murad Watson, Emmett Mosley still, in those situations. And also, one last thing, Julian Sayin has been named the quarterback at Ohio State. I do have one more news or note, and I don't know if everybody's heard about this yet or not. Of course, Texas Tech lost Taj Brooks to the NFL this past offseason. Earlier today, they lost their replacement for Taj Brooks, a young man also from Manor, Texas, Quentin Joyner, the transfer from USC. It sounds like Quentin Joyner out for the season for Texas Tech with a torn ACL. Tough loss there. And
I need to correct myself real quick, Bobby. Okay. That 2020 Mac Jones team was Devontae Smith, Waddle, who got hurt, and John Mechie, receiver. Najee Harris was the running back.
No talent on that team at all.
Heisman Trophy winning wideout.
And a first-round running back. Crazy. Hey, guys, thank y'all so much. We'll be with you guys again in the morning on Coffee and Football. We appreciate y'all very, very much. I think we're going to go over 89,000 subscribers today. Congratulations to everybody that helped us accomplish that. And we're ready for the football season, man. Cannot wait. So hope to see some of you guys tomorrow in Austin, Wednesday night in Houston, and Thursday night in Dallas. Until later, you guys have a good one. Marcus, come out and join us tomorrow night, buddy. Hook 'em horns.